Hi, my name is Lorraine and I am an educational consultant specialising in special educational needs and mental health. Thank you for watching my latest video recording on supporting SEND pupils during the third lockdown. I hope this will help you support children and young people in your care at this very challenging time. The requirement to open up testing centres in all schools with secondary age pupils and the closure of some primaries for the majority of their pupils in London and the South East was the focus for school leaders as the Christmas holidays began. They knew that they would not be open until at least the second week of the spring term. 2 weeks later, we found ourselves in a situation where the whole country had gone into a third lockdown and all schools were closed for the majority of pupils, with the exception of those who have at least one parent who is a critical worker and those children and young people who are deemed to be vulnerable. Schools with secondary age pupils had planned to be closed for the first week in order to set up the testing processes. But the majority of primary schools were planning to be open and teachers delivering face-to-face teaching. One day into the new term and all schools were having to replan and prepare for both in-school and remote learning. At this point there was no guidance from the Department for Education, so school leaders were left to sort this out themselves. And so they did. By the end of the first week of term, schools had set up all their remote learning programs, organised staffing and communicated with parents, alongside providing school meals for those who were eligible, delivering home learning packages and checking in to ensure all those pupils at home were safe and well and have the necessary technology and connectivity to access their learning. For many, this remains a significant issue. But what does this mean for the 1.4 million pupils who are identified as having special educational needs and disabilities? All schools have a legal duty to provide additional and/or different provision for all those pupils on SEND support, and a legal duty to ensure the provision in Section E of the Education, Health and Care Plan is delivered appropriately. It would appear that unlike in previous lockdowns, the government are not going to make any temporary changes to the law, and therefore all the duties within the Children and Families Act 2014, the SEND Regulations 2014 and the SEND Code of Practice 2015 are fully in place. It is highly likely that the majority of pupils who are on SEN support in your school are currently being educated at home, unless they are a member of one of the vulnerable groups outlined in the DfE guidance. That means that a school is expected to offer the additional and/or different provision within the graduated response that they would be offering in school alongside high quality differentiated teaching as part of their remote learning package. This might include support from a teaching assistant, an opportunity to access an intervention group, or specific tools and equipment that offer a reasonable adjustment to support their learning. It might also include input from an external professional like a speech and language therapist or an occupational therapist. The DfE guidance restricting attendance during the national lockdown, published on the 7th of January, states, schools should ensure that appropriate support is made available to pupils with SEND, for example by deploying teaching assistants and enabling specialist staff from both within and outside the school to work with pupils in different classes or year groups. Schools must ensure that they are doing everything they can to offer the additional support for this group of pupils, offering online tutorials with teaching assistants, additional support from teachers through increased interaction with parents, or offering additional tools and equipment that can be delivered to the pupil's home are possible solutions. If the pupil is unable to access online learning due to a lack of equipment or connectivity, then I would suggest that you consider having this pupil in school as one of your vulnerable group. Schools may also wish to consider using some of their COVID catch-up premium to engage with the National Tutoring Programme and engage a tutor to support individual or small groups of pupils. All pupils with an education, health and care plan are listed in the vulnerable group guidance, and therefore this means that under the restrictions they have a right to be in school if this is what the parent wishes. If a parent prefers to keep their child at home, then they can do so without being penalised. I am aware that many parents have chosen not to send their child into school as they feel they will be safer at home, especially those who have significant medical needs. I am also aware that many schools have concerns about keeping the numbers in school as low as possible to ensure that the spread of infection is contained. Some schools are also having significant difficulties with staffing, leaving many staff having to provide both face-to-face and remote learning for their pupils. However, all schools must ensure that EHCP pupils are receiving both the high-quality provision that they would ordinarily receive when school is fully open, plus all the additional support to meet Section E of the EHCP. They must also ensure that annual reviews take place in a timely manner. In this current climate, I would recommend that these are held virtually. The last lockdown meant that many pupils with EHCPs were not provided with any of the provisions set out in their plan, and many missed out on everyday teaching and learning as well. This cannot happen during this third lockdown. It also has to be remembered that local authorities have the duty to ensure that the provision written into Section E of an EHCP is met. If a school is struggling to provide this provision under the current circumstances, they must notify their local authority. Schools need to be doing everything they can to meet the pupils' needs. This may be by offering them one-to-one support remotely via an online platform. It might be ensuring that the work that is set is differentiated to meet the pupils' needs, and support and equipment for parents to help their child are offered, or it might be regular drop-in sessions by the class teacher, and this might be virtually or on the home doorstep. In terms of support from external therapists, if this cannot be carried out in school, then this should be offered remotely or within the home. If the service that you normally use is not offering support at the current time, then schools can look to commission those services from other sources, such as privately or through an agency. If available, the EHCP top-up funding can be used for this. Schools may also want to use some of their COVID catch-up premium to engage additional support from external specialists, especially if you feel this will benefit the pupil, even if not stated in the EHCP. For all pupils with SEND, their teachers are best placed to know how the pupils' needs can be met most effectively and to ensure they continue to make progress even if they are not able to be in school due to the current lockdown. The requirement for schools to use their best endeavours to secure the special educational provision called for by the pupil's special educational needs remains in place. Schools should work collaboratively with families and their local authority, putting in place reasonable adjustments as necessary, so that pupils with SEND can successfully access high quality education, whether in school or remotely, in the same way as their peers. I have recently produced a list of resources to support remote learning for pupils with SEND. You will find them on my website. There is a link below. Thank you for listening to my latest video. I am Lorraine Peterson. If you want to contact me or find out more about my work, please visit my website lpec.org.uk. You will find a link below.